Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, taking a look at the F-84 Thunderjet, Tier 9 American fighter multi-role aircraft. Yeah, it's a multi-role aircraft with a decent amount of air-to-ground ordnance, and this aircraft had a bit of a jaded past. It originally started development around 1946, went into initial testing around 1947, and the United States Army Air Force at the time had stated that this aircraft had structural problems as well as engine issues that meant that it couldn't satisfy any portion of its intended role. Ouch. Those are some pretty harsh words for an airframe that pretty much is the final nail in the coffin for this aircraft to be removed from the inventory, right? Well, after a few more years, it looks like after the National Security Act was signed that the Air Force came into fruition, and as a result, they decided to keep moving forward with the aircraft as they wanted a turbojet fighter. This airframe ended up recouping from that negative start and ended up doing pretty well, especially in the Korean War, and was attributed with 60% of the air-to-ground kills that happened throughout the entirety of the conflict. That's a substantial amount of air-to-ground operations when you consider that it was with a fighter aircraft and not with any of the big strategic bombers that we still had running through that area during that conflict. So kudos to this aircraft. Another interesting thing I did not know about this airframe is that this Thunderjet with the straight wing design, it had fuel tanks on the wingtips for this purpose, but it was actually the first aircraft used by the Thunderbirds. So if you're aware, the Thunderbirds are the United States Air Force's demonstration team, and this was their first aircraft that they flew. So usually a lot of people will see them flying around in their F-16s. They've gone through a multitude of different airframes over the years, but I just thought it was interesting that this was the first one. I had no idea. In fact, I didn't even realize that this plane existed until I started playing this game. So that's enough theory. Let's talk a little bit about how the game performs in game. Well, as you can see here, it seems to be turning pretty well with these fighters. The turn rate on this aircraft gets substantially better compared to its predecessors. It flies way better than the Jug, and it also flies way better than the XP-72. Those aircraft were looking at about a 13-second turn time, which is extremely lethargic when you're talking about any type of a fighter aircraft, multi-role or otherwise. But this aircraft's turn time is a 10.8 second turn time, which is actually pretty good. In fact, it's the exact same turn time that you find with the Mustang series. Now, the deficiency here is that the Mustang was able to operate at higher altitudes, so all of the aircraft up there had relatively sluggish turn times, so it could really choose what engagements it got into, and it would stay away from getting into these low altitude fights with a really turny aircraft. Well, the Thunderjet doesn't get that option because its altitude ceiling is around 6,000 feet, which means he's not going to be able to outclimb a lot of the tourney fighters that he may be encountering. But what you do have available is the ability to zoom out of that engagement and use your 20-second boost to be able to exit that engagement. What this aircraft likes to do is the exact same thing we saw from the rest of this multi-role line, being the primarily air-to-ground version of the multi-role line for the Americans. You can see it has a very impressive air-to-ground ordnance. That is 12 5-inch rockets mounted underneath the wings in 4 stations, 3 rockets stacked on top of each other for each, and then you also have 2 inner pylons where you have the option of either mounting these 500-pound bombs, which do more damage than the other option, which would be the tiny TIMs, which are the very big rockets that you can equip. So if you really want to launch 14 rockets in quick succession, you can with this airframe. However, the bombs are going to be your most effective option if you're trying to actually take out ground targets. So much like the XP-72 and the Jug, you want to go to an objective, use your ordnance and your air-to-air capability to kill defense aircraft as well as ground targets in order to flip that zone, and then you will stay at that zone and either defend it or you will move on to the next zone once you've reloaded your armament in order to capture the next. So we're doing just that here. We made an initial pass, we were able to capture the mining facility, we moved over and took the airfield, and then we came back and we started countering the ground attack aircraft that were coming towards our mining facility, since the mining facility will roll over a large portion of its capture points it accrues every 120 seconds. The 650 cal machine guns on this aircraft are the same as that of the F-86 Sabre, and even the following aircraft after this one, the F-84 Thunder Streak with the swept-winged variant of this airframe, which was a little bit faster and a little bit better altitude performance, is going to be able to shred most aircraft it comes up against once you get those guns on target, with a very high rate of fire of 1,200 rounds per minute. Now we are going to go head-to-head against this J7W2, and you'll see that the guns are more than sufficient to be able to knock off what's left of that, 150 hit points in a very rapid succession as we were both closing on one another. Now you can see this is the limitation of getting up to this altitude of 6,000 feet. As we try and do an up and over turn, we're able to turn around relatively quickly on this F6U, but unfortunately the F6U is getting away from us because our engine isn't performing as well as we would like it to. But by dipping the nose a little bit and hitting the thrust, you can see we're over 500 miles an hour. I realize I'm not actually going to get the pirate, so I decide to dive down and try and use these last couple of seconds to get some air-to-ground ordnance off on this mining facility, and I'm going to launch the full complement of 12 rockets, which always feels satisfying in these situations because it just looks amazing. But the problem is I try to drop the bombs, and as I hit the space bar, it causes it to make me exit the game. So I did not get to see the end results, but I will bring you guys the end results screen now, and we will go over the results. So as you can see here, about 9,000 capture points, or personal points. We managed to kill several air targets, and we did the best on both sides of the team board here, so not too bad. The aircraft isn't too bad to upgrade. In fact, if you've gone down the American fighter line, this has the second engine on this aircraft is the same engine you would get with the FJ1. Now there is a third engine, but that really only upgrades about 200 and some change foot-pounds of thrust, while that first upgrade with the FJ1 is going to give you, the FJ1 engine is actually going to give you close to 1,000 foot-pounds of thrust boost, so that's awesome. You should already have the missiles and the bombs unlocked, and you'll already have the machine gun unlocked, so the only other thing for you to push forward the effort on would be the airframe itself, and that airframe upgrade actually changes the look of the cockpit. It gets this kind of ribbed design over the canopy. I don't know. That's your visual depiction if you're wondering if somebody's actually upgraded the airframe or not. All in all, guys, it's a vast improvement to the rest of the line you've been flying up until this point. It's fast. It's relatively maneuverable. It has good machine guns that are going to be centerline mounted, which means that they're going to perform quite well. I say centerline mounted, 2 are on the engine cowling, and then there are 2 more in the wing roots that you can see in this image right here. But they all fire relatively close to center, which means it's really easy to get them on target, and it's just so much fun unloading with those 12 5-inch rockets. All in all, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you liked and what you didn't like, and I'll catch you on the next one.